Live from TVN headquarters, it's the Never Stop Chasing Show with Reed Timmer, Craig Johnson, and Dick McGowan.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on the Never Stop Chasing Show. Tonight, our guest, I should say, is Dave Holder and Connor McCrory. Reed's actually in LA with Bosch right now, so he couldn't join us. But I'd like to introduce Dave. Dave, how did you and Reed come together? You know each other?
Well, actually through the bowling team, funny enough, back at OU. I used to be in the bowling team years and years and years ago, and I happened to meet him through a mutual friend that I bowled with.
Really?
It was kind of random, yeah, but...
What year was that?
That was in 2004, and he basically needed someone to drive overnight with to Iowa or Minnesota, or you know how it goes. So I was always like, yeah, I'll go randomly at 2 a.m. to Ames, Iowa, or wherever. So that's how we kind of ended up being friends.
And if you guys don't know, Dave was with Reed on the was it Manitoba Tornado? Really.
Yeah, the Manitoba Tornado was probably the highlight of our chasing career
2007.
together. Yeah, there's a number of tornadoes in 2005 and 2007 were really the key years. But yeah, the Manitoba was probably the highlight of it.
Awesome. So, Dave, who do you work for now? I mean, what do you do?
Well, now I am part of Extreme Tornado Tours, tour director, part owner of that, and that's kind of a subsidiary of TVN. That's
so you do that full time?
Yeah. It's been really amazing actually, because just in the past few years, it's really grown into really something special. I think it's
definitely cool to hang out. I know we get to hang out with a lot of the guests. When we're out there chasing, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great. Just some of the experiences we get, just not even chasing. I mean, chasing obviously is fantastic that we're out there, but the fact that we get to interact with everyone, we meet all these people from around the world that are interested in the same thing that we are. It's really awesome. It's you can't beat it, to be honest. It's a wonderful job.
Yeah. So, what was your most memorable chase from this year?
Oh, this year, that have to be the Fall River Tornado that. Obviously, you guys were there too. We happened to be together that day.
So you guys were right behind us then? Right?
Yeah, we were behind you that day. Although I did forecast Southwest South Dakota that day.
You did, yes.
I did, but
what for those that know the day, what exactly happened to us? If you guys don't remember this day, it was
June 22nd.
June 22nd.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got our windows blown out. Where Chittick, got cut by the glass, and Chad just casually throws the. Like the paper towel. So what? You guys are right behind.
Well, we're right behind you, and not only did your back left window get smashed out, well, both vans actually got smashed out too. The exact same window, funny enough, because obviously we had the grapefruit-sized hail or whatever that was flying into the tornado. So,
sideways.
Yeah, so it seemed like both of the windows smashed out on both vans simultaneously. It was just chaos.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not trying to smash out windows.
And we told you guys to stay back. I mean.
Did you? It was kind of a chaotic moment, so I'm not quite sure.
It was insane. It was like a war zone out there.
Yeah, it was.
It was like Roger Clemens, like 1,000 of them just sitting there just chucking these softballs.
I've never seen. I mean, actually, funny enough, I kind of related to Manitoba. That was the only other time I had seen that.
Really?
There's just massive hailstones being sucked into the
sideways.
tornado. Yeah, it was something else. It was unbelievable. I was kind of just paralyzed with, wait, what's going on here? But no, it was a great experience. And after everything kind of died down, then it was fantastic. So.
That's good.
But yeah, that was the biggest chase of this year for Extreme Tornado Tours. There was a number of others too. The Wyoming Tornado that you guys were on, the Piedmont Tornado. Saw some beach ball hail coming down on that. And the other thing about this year, which was really notable, is the fact that we traveled so far. I mean, we were on South Padre Island just hanging out for a day because there was nothing to do. So we were on the beach. And I think literally within the next few days, we were 20 miles from the Canadian border in northern Minnesota at that little weird shop area. Yeah. So the other good thing about doing the tour is that you get to see so much, because when there's not chasing, you're doing the kind of touristy things, going to national parks, and it's just such an amazing experience. Like it's incredible.
A lot of bonding going on, I noticed.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
So Connor, was this Connor McCrory? He goes, you go to OU, right?
I do.
He's an up-and-coming chaser. He's pretty good. How long you been chasing for now?
Well, I started in April of 2008, so I guess this will be my 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 6th year of storm chasing when we roll around.
You're in
spring,
school, you say, too?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Meteorology student at OU.
What year are you in right now?
I'm a junior.
Junior.
So you're taking your dynamics classes then right now,
Not right now, actually, but next semester, Dynamics 2 next semester.
huh? Okay, that's the good stuff. Yeah, dynamics too.
You're originally a
like
Texas fan, right?
I did grow
now
up
you're
a
naive.
fan of the University of Texas. I don't tell too many people that, but
Well, you just
there you
told
go.
everybody.
Does that mean it's surrounded by Texas fans? You're not a Texas fan now, right?
Maybe a little bit, but
You can't be a what?
So, do you have a website or anything?
up until recently, I was affiliated with a certain website out of Texas, but
happened with
after
that?
a series of hostile takeover attempts, and figure I'll let that one go free. Glad to be free of the wildfire chasing burden. So
So you're not a scanner chaser anymore?
no, not anymore.
So let's talk about some recent weather news here. The hype setup from Reed Timmer. He's not here. We can just let it rip, guys.
Just
Major
ridiculous.
outbreak.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what happened? What do you guys think happened? I mean, why wasn't it more? I mean, the shear was there. I mean, you think it was the timing of the short wave? You think it was?
I think the timing was. There was definitely problems with timing. I know Reed had mentioned a lot of things about the storm motion not being quite what the models were forecasting and having more of a northerly track, and so the storms when they fired were, so perpendicular to the boundary, and so of course they were kept on firing into each other. A lot of people I noticed, reading the Facebook posts and whatever, were saying that there was an issue with Cape, but I don't know. I kind of felt like the instability was there, especially we got a good clearing, and
I felt like on Saturday the biggest issue was storm interactions.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like you said, the storm motion vector wasn't quite as perpendicular as we'd hoped, and you had a lot of almost training storms, and even the ones that managed to fire out of the head of the main line tended to be overshadowed by the anvils from the storms immediately behind them.
right.
I think storms fired too early too. It's like 12:30 or something. Like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I don't think the clearing quite happened as fast as it should have either. So
We were only in Chickasha when we saw storms going up, pretty much, weren't we?
yeah.
Yeah, they started firing around 1 in the afternoon or something
Yeah,
like that.
1 in the
It was
afternoon.
about halfway through the OU game because obviously they had wrapped it up by the half, and so we started chasing right
Yeah,
after.
glad I didn't have to watch that one. What was the final score on that anyway?
It was like
63-21.
63-21. I think Texas got some garbage points at the end.
That's embarrassing.
Had OU's starting defense been left in.
Yeah.
So Connor, what's your favorite chase day?
Ever?
Ever?
Probably have to give it to November 7th, 2011, last year.
Tipton?
Tipton. We actually ended up getting there a little bit late for Tipton, unfortunately.
You did
but,
the first one?
Yeah, but we were
the
there
Manitou
for the wildlife refuge, Wichita Mountains. and
Yeah, really.
beyond. So
That was a
that
good
was
day.
pretty awesome.
You were also on the Yazoo City tornado, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I was in the Yazoo City tornado.
I think I remember that video.
That was up there on the favorite chases, but for a different reason. Not as much. November 7th had so many beautiful tornadoes and
that
just
was-
great chase terrain. But Yazoo City, we saw a violent tornado, which is always a little bittersweet, especially when you have the deaths that happened that day. And but it was a heck of a chase for sure.
Where'd you guys intercept that from? Like what southwest of Yazoo?
Yeah, we were south of Valley Park, I think, Mississippi, right there,
Mississippi side.
just east of the Louisiana border, and
okay.
north of Vicksburg a little bit.
Gotcha. Was it how big was it by the time?
It was pretty rain wrapped when it hit us. I'd put it at about a quarter mile
Really?
wide when it hit us.
I think it was the official track on that, about a mile wide at EF4.
I think it was wider than a mile.
Was
yeah,
it?
it got
Wow.
really wide.
Wow.
Man, 1.7 miles?
It was up there.
Goodness.
That's up there with Greensburg. Greensburg was 1.7.
That's insane.
Yeah, with more rain wrapping around it, obviously, which makes it really dangerous.
And at 11 in the
We
morning.
couldn't see
Yeah.
it until it was not even a half mile away from us,
Really? Yeah.
which was the problem.
Yeah, we could barely see. We were northeast of it, but then it just wrapped in rain, and I don't know if you guys saw Storm Chasers, but it was panic, pure panic for me. Almost went the wrong direction, straight into it because I got my maps mixed. Anyways, let's talk
You got
about
your maps.
about the hype setup a little bit more. Reed's not here.
Let it
What do
rip
you
then.
think? Do you think it's okay to hype it up a few days before just so people get the word out, or do you think you want to keep them more cautious and more conservative?
He wasn't the only prominent meteorologist using the word outbreak.
Yeah, he wasn't the only one.
He wasn't the only
Definitely
one.
wasn't. And there's a lot of actually veteran storm chasers that I've seen posting that we're calling for an outbreak.
Right. I mean, sometimes you have to use keywords to get the public's attention. Now, that being said, I think Reed maybe does it a little too much sometimes.
I think he just you know what I think? I think he just has this pure passion and he wants it to happen. And you know, a lot of times he's right. You know,
a lot of times he's right.
He doesn't get a lot of credit he deserves. But I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think Connor? I mean, would you rather hype it up a few days before, or would you just be cautious and you know, it takes a lot of cojones, you know, to call something an outbreak, you know, 2-3 days out, you know, ahead of time, and going against the grain of other people and being really conservative. What would you rather do? I mean, what would you rather?
Well, I think a lot of people, first of all, you know, they get a little too, they expect too much when they hear the word outbreak. You know, a lot of people hear the word outbreak and they think the world's going to end, and they don't realize that you don't necessarily have to have the biggest, the biggest tornado outbreak of all time just to use that word. And I believe the actual classification for a tornado outbreak is, I think I heard Reed say a few times this weekend, is 6 tornadoes. And there may very well have been 6 tornadoes on Friday from that one supercell just north of Lubbock. I mean, we didn't see 6 tornadoes from it, but there certainly could have been a few, especially brief spin-ups, which, you know, if you want to count that towards your little tornado outbreak qualification.
What do you think, Dave?
But I think it's good to get the word out, but don't necessarily, you know, you don't have to. You can use the word outbreak as long as you convey the message that, you know, not everyone is going to be affected. Not every single storm is going to be violent, and it may not happen at all. But
the model's changed a lot too. I mean, from the beginning, they always have problems. Seems like in the fall, like the season changed. Like the model's quite, you know, until it comes on shore, they don't really have a better idea. I mean, it was looking really good in Iowa, and all of a sudden it's, you know, Oklahoma and Texas.
The models kept slowing it down, or it had it too fast, obviously, before. But you can't cry wolf, obviously, too much. You keep using the word outbreak over and over and over again. I mean, not saying that Reed does.
Well, I mean, there's already tornado warnings issued for every, you know, how many tornado warnings are issued? There's not actually a tornado on the ground.
Right, and that's true also. So, I mean, obviously meteorology is new science, so you see something, but I mean, I think he qualified it with possible outbreak.
Yeah, possible.
So, I mean, you have to take with a grain of
The
salt.
shear, I mean, the shear was incredible. The instability could have probably been a little bit better. The timing of the wave probably could have been a little better. I haven't really looked a whole lot into it.
I think the timing was the main problem.
Yeah.
I really do.
it's hard to alert the public to the possibility of a significant event happening in the near future without some people taking that information and, you know, ignoring words like possible and things like that. You know, the world's going to end in 2012.
Right. Taking things out of context.
You need to.
Any other thing?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when you're talking about the storm community and the meteorologists, maybe they see outbreak and they're like, oh, well, it's overhyped. But, you know, the general public obviously doesn't know that much as we do. And so when using the word outbreak, it could come in more helpful because it's just the fact that they need to be aware of a possible dangerous weather situation ahead. So a lot of times we have these discussions and we have to we should, you know, qualitate whether we're talking about the storm community or the general public.
It would be
because
interesting.
It makes a big difference.
It would be interesting to talk to people that are not meteorologists or storm chasers or even have any particular interest in weather, but that follow along and see what they have to say about how do they feel when they see the word outbreak. Do they panic or do they take the time to understand what's going to happen?
That's a great idea. Also, what do you guys think? You guys that are watching, send us some questions on Twitter at ReedTimmerTVN. I have it pulled up right here.
Oh,
so
Twitter?
we can take some.
That thing's still around?
Yeah, Twitter's still. You can also ask questions in the chat, which is directly below the podcast there. So there's a chance for severe weather tomorrow. What do you guys think? Have you looked at anything?
Let's
I
go to
haven't
Arkansas.
followed it too close. I think it's further east.
Yeah, it's
right?
in
Back
Arkansas.
Yeah. I don't think the system is as strong as it was this weekend.
Yeah, it looks possibly like a squall line, but there's definitely a chance for a isolated tornado too tomorrow. We're going to look at the models tonight and decide whether we're going to chase it, but it's probably about a 30-70 right now. What do you say, Mike Scantlin? 30-70 on chasing? tomorrow?
I'll be
I
there.
would chase, just to chase. If,
30-70. Yeah.
Some of us have class to go to.
Also, I'd like to take the time to talk about Scott Tama, who is our friend Andy Gabrielson died in a car wreck back in February. Is one of my best friends. He was hit by a drunk driver. Scott Tama, the author of Out of the Blue book, is donating $1 for every book he sells to Andy Gabrielson's family, so they can recuperate and heal and stuff. And that's tomabooks.com, THOMA books.com, if you guys want to get the book and donate.
Also, we should remind people that the store is actually still open, I think.
Is it?
I think it's
It was going to be
they're
through
planning on
October
shutting
1st, but now it's through the year, right?
When are they shutting it down?
January 1st?
January, so the
think
end of
so.
this year. Okay, so
I'm not sure.
if you're interested in buying some Find the Tornado,
Yeah.
it's findthetornado.com. I know I got like everything that I could possibly get from there.
Bumper
Yeah,
stickers,
me too.
shirts.
Yeah.
I told him they need to keep it open forever.
Yeah, I think they should.
It might be too much of a strain for
Yeah,
them.
yeah, it's understandable. No.
Yeah, so let's take some questions here. Are you guys planning to chase tomorrow? Oh, we just took care of that one. Do you feel better about the position of TVA now that you're separated from Discovery? Or is there more potential partners? I think we're doing well on our own right now. What do you think?
I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
I honestly, I kind of like the cameras not being there sometimes when we're chasing. I kind of feel like it's a bit,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a little chaotic.
Yeah, it's a lot of chaos, and sometimes you got to be aware of staying out of the shot or whatever. So
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's easier sometimes.
What was the worst tornado you have ever seen? Let's go through your worst tornado you've ever seen.
The worst is in like
Most
most
damage.
damage, or
Yeah,
just
probably
the
the
worst.
worst.
Because I've seen
As in
some
quality.
pretty
I think probably the
bad
worst
tornadoes.
damage-wise, probably.
I've been actually really lucky, and I count my blessings the fact that I've never seen a tornado do destructive damage. The worst I could say would probably be in, I believe it was Stuttgart, Arkansas on May 10th, 2008.
Yep.
Yeah, we rolled in right behind, and we saw some pretty bad damage. There was, second stories taken off of houses and stuff, a few houses, but we ran around and didn't see any.
Was anybody hurt from it?
No, we saw very little in the way of injuries. I think they had been pretty well warned way ahead of time because we were actually listening to the radio at the time.
And that was a big day. It was a moderate risk.
Yeah,
That was the day of the pitcher tornado,
yeah,
too.
pitcher got hit.
Actually,
that day.
it was, unfortunately, like 1 or 2 fatalities.
The pitcher. Yeah, at Stuttgart there were no fatalities, which was really good considering the damage was pretty bad. So that's the worst I've seen.
Really? What about you, Connor? What's the worst tornado you ever? Damage-wise?
Stuttgart came to mind right off the bat because I didn't actually see the Stuttgart tornado though, but we got into town right after. And but like you said, we didn't see any injuries. I don't believe there were any fatalities. There was a lot of damage done, but I didn't see too many homes that were just destroyed or anything. As far as the most damaging, most deadly, worst tornado I've seen, I'd probably have to give it to Tuscola, Oklahoma.
Oh, you were on Tuscaloosa.
Or
What day was that? April last year?
that was April 14th last year. Yeah. But that was just because that was my worst firsthand experience. We were in Tuscaloosa as the tornado came through, and
Oh, really?
like you said earlier, I was there. I saw the Yazoo City tornado and Lone Grove, Oklahoma, but we weren't actually in those towns when they got
Yeah.
devastated.
Did you end up in Yazoo City after the town
No,
got hit?
we stayed around where we were for a little bit to stream to the Weather Channel and some stuff like that, and then
Right.
ended up just heading back. And I actually got back to Plano, Texas, where I was living at the time, by sunset after seeing and being hit by a violent tornado. And
In the morning.
saw my girlfriend that evening, and it
Jeez.
was just weirdest chase of my life.
Count your blessings on that one.
Yeah, that's
I think the worst tornado I ever saw was probably the Greensburg tornado.
Yeah.
There's nothing will probably ever top that.
Yeah.
My friends Darren Brunin and Derek Schaefer and I were the first storm chasers, actually the first people in the town of Greensburg. We had to pull up some power lines over our car, and we found a guy south of town and who was waving for help. His house was completely gone. Mike Scanlon was on that tornado actually too. We drove him to his family, drove into town, and just search and rescue. Just it's hard to talk about really, but search and rescue for the next 3 hours. Going house to house. I mean, you just can't see anything. And besides lightning illuminating this whole entire town, just rubble and the smell and it's just a horrible, horrible experience. That's one thing we don't like. Storm chasers don't like to, we don't out in open fields and stuff like that. We don't like to see the damage, but unfortunately it does happen.
Yeah. Keep your fingers crossed. It doesn't, don't see too much of that.
Here's a question for Holder. Can you go through and give us a typical day of an extreme tornado tour guest?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'd love to. Typically, we wake up anywhere between, we'll meet anywhere between 7 in the morning and 11. I think 7's the earliest. I really don't like early mornings, so I try to make it as late as possible.
How late you sleep today?
Today? 11. Yeah, I'm more of a night person.
Yeah, me too.
It really depends on what the weather's doing, though, because obviously if we have to get to a target, then we're going to be driving as soon as we leave the hotel to get to the target and hopefully chase, stop if we have time, get a good lunch somewhere, a lot of Pizza Huts, Applebee's, that kind of thing. And then, if it's a chase day, we'll chase, and then see what time it gets dark. Usually around like 7:30, 8 o'clock. It gets dark later in the year. So sometimes we'll be chasing into the night. In fact, this year we ended up chasing into the night quite a bit. A few times we were chasing till like 11 o'clock at night. And of course, we don't want to push the guests too hard.
Yeah.
So, we only do that on rare occasions. But it really depends. We kind of just fly by the seat of our pants. It varies so much, yeah. On the down days, we might very easygoing, kind of figure out where we are, see what the guests want to do in terms of sightseeing, or a lot of times we'll go to the weather center, or if we're, in who knows where, we'll go to a park. If we have a few days, we'll go a couple days out of our way and, visit Colorado, or, there's always something to do. We always fill in the time. It's always a good time in the van. There's a lot of obviously, a lot of traveling. So we have radio, and me and the other tour guests will sing to our guests.
You're a pretty good singer, aren't you?
Demonstration.
Dave loves karaoke.
Yeah, karaoke some nights. We always have a good time. Always have a good time.
Another question is, do you guys? Or you can answer this. Are you guys always with us during an outbreak? I mean, you're always.
Yeah, on the big days, we're always interacting with you guys for sure. We're not always right behind you, but we'll, meet, chase, meet up. We're always in the center, the general vicinity. And I think our forecasting styles are very similar too. So we always seem to be in the same area anyway.
Good deal. Here's another question from Kevin Holman. Do you have medical personnel chase with you in case you need it for yourselves or victims? Sometimes, when we shot the show for Discovery Channel, we always had a medic vehicle behind us. But this year, we were kind of limited. We did have Dustin Fallman, Bobo. Everybody knows he's medically trained. Some of the chases. But for the show, they do it. Not this year. I don't think we had anybody really experienced. We miss our old medic, Bud Phillips. Bud, if you're watching, hello. So, nope. Don't have any medical. Shane asks, how do you feel about the Tuscaloosa Tornado? What do you guys feel about the Tuscaloosa Tornado?
We saw the Tuscola Tornado basically form, and it formed, funny enough, over a damaged area that had been hit like a week ago. That was the first time we took the tours out to the Dixie area to chase, because we knew there was going to be such a big outbreak. It was kind of bittersweet, because it was one of those days you wake up in the morning knowing that there's going to be big problems later that day. But that storm was something else. We followed it for a little while, and we could see it was just like on a beeline for Tuscaloosa. And obviously we didn't want to see that. So,
yeah, you guys were right by us that day too.
Yeah, we were right by you again.
We couldn't make it into Tuscaloosa because there was so much traffic
right,
backed up.
That's what we had the same problem. We got stuck on the highway there.
Yeah.
And it's tough to chase out there too, because the hills and trees and everything. But we managed to kind of perch ourselves up on some bridges that we could, view the tornado as it crossed the landscape. I'll never get that image out of my mind.
Which
that
image?
tornado.
Oh, yeah.
Going through,
Yep.
the trees and the hills and knowing it was on a beeline for
I
Tuscaloosa.
called the National Weather Service 3 times. Once when it formed, and I said it's headed for Tuscaloosa. Twice. It's large, violent tornado headed for Tuscaloosa 3 times. We called it in just to make sure that they, the National Weather Service knew, as if they probably didn't know anyways. But
Right.
yeah, it's
On a
just
day
really
like
scary when it's headed to a populated area like that.
I still get goosebumps thinking about that.
Yeah, just
day.
thinking about like those poor people that have nowhere to go.
It's unbelievable.
How does a storm chaser go about getting their vehicle insured? You just tell your insurance company that you're not a storm chaser, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it never really comes up. We just get our insurance. Scanlon, you have something to say over there?
Yeah, he's bobbing his head around like.
I haven't done anything
jig.
with the dents in my truck.
More animated?
Showmanship, come on.
Does anyone
Weird.
show them what happens to vehicles after a storm chaser?
Yeah. Okay.
You guys are just monotone.
Was the April 27th, 2011 outbreak legitimately bigger than the one in the 1970s? Well, I haven't
They're
really.
very comparable, aren't they?
They're very-
I mean, well, that's why one's named the Super Outbreak too, pretty much. I mean, they're both named the Super Outbreak. I think they're once in a generation type thing, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's also kind of hard to gauge events that happen that far apart and compare them because we have such coverage of what's going on now and
Exactly.
we see everything and people that were back in the 70s, I certainly wasn't alive to see the original super outbreak in 74, but
Yeah, I wouldn't know what it.
Yeah,
Right there
it's
either.
funny. I look into it all the time, and a lot of times, obviously big weather nerds, so I'll download the tracks from both outbreaks. The thing you notice about the 73 outbreak, it was 73,
Yeah.
right?
I thought it was 74.
Is it 74?
74.
Why
April
do I
3rd
say
and 4th,
73?
74?
I think that's
Maybe
what
it was
said.
72.
No,
70?
it was 73 or 74.
It was 74.
85 Bears.
Anyway, it's a moot point. The fact is that the spatial coverage of the first super outbreak was a lot more than the 2011 one. I mean, there were tornadoes in Ontario, Canada that day that did significant damage.
Yeah.
There were tornadoes all over the East Coast.
Big warm sector.
everywhere, and big, strong tornadoes. The thing about 2011 was there were a lot of big, strong tornadoes, but they were concentrated more in a localized area. Northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, northern
they
Georgia,
reached up into
Tennessee.
North Carolina.
There were a few, right? I
But not
mean,
as many.
they did go into North Carolina, and I think there were even reports maybe as far as
Almost DC.
Yeah, Virginia. But the spatial context of this first super outbreak was something that's really unparalleled. I mean, you got F5 tornadoes in Alabama and Ohio. I mean, the Xenia tornado was possibly the strongest tornado we've ever recorded.
Yeah.
So.
And, I mean, the population back then wasn't as big either, so who knows how much damage that would have done
Right.
today.
Right.
Versus.
Yeah, both of those, though, I think are a once-in-a-generation type deal.
Yeah.
There's something crazy about last year, though, too, with, obviously the Joplin tornado.
So many
and-
towns.
Yeah, it
last
seemed
year.
like every single big tornado happened to hit a town. It was
Mapleton.
Really sad,
Tuska,
yeah, it's Mapleton.
Joplin, Tuscaloosa.
the El Reno, Piedmont,
Yeah.
Guthrie tornado. I mean, we had a major outbreak in the Oklahoma City metro. I know Dallas got hit, but not that, not by a strong tornado. It was crazy last year. So for whatever reason, this year was much better in that regard. We saw some amazing tornadoes, but they were out in the absolute middle of nowhere. I mean, that Fall River tornado is extreme southwest South Dakota.
There were only so
Us.
many tornadoes to see this
Right,
year, too.
right.
That doesn't get more desolate than that.
And maybe a stray elk somewhere here and there, but
Hey Dick, this guy Stephen Duffy asked, hey Dick, what years did you see your first tornado? What size of it? 1995. My sister and I saw a tornado in Garden City, Kansas. I actually picked her up from the mall, heard the sirens, jumped in my truck, drove north of town and saw it. She was crying the whole time.
did you just drive to the darkest part of the sky?
Yeah, I
and
just
happen
drove
to see
straight
it?
north. It was just like this southeast moving storm. I think it was like in late June even, maybe. And just this rogue tornado right in the field, like probably 2 or 3 miles away.
It's
I
funny.
was
looking-
addicted after that.
Yeah, it's funny looking back at your first chase, and
Nope.
being like, "What the heck was I doing?" I mean, you're really like some of the stuff you just shake your head at.
Yeah, that was I guess technically my first chase, but I really didn't see a chase tornado till 2003, the Kansas City F4 That was my May 4th, 2003, I think that was.
Oh, did that hit Kansas City that day?
Yeah.
Really?
That same day as the Girard and Pierce
The-
City,
the
Missouri.
Pierce City, Missouri
Yeah.
tornado. Yeah, I didn't know there was a tornado in Kansas City that day.
Yeah.
That was another crazy year,
F4.
2003.
Yeah.
That was just 4 days after that is when Oklahoma City got hit again.
Yeah.
The
Lawrence,
Moore
Kansas.
tornado.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the first time I came to Oklahoma to take a look at the OU campus, and one of my biggest memories is driving south into Norman and seeing this massive damage path in Moore. All the crazy
Really?
sign. Yeah, that was the first thing I saw.
Like, this is where I
So
went.
that, yeah, this is welcome home. You know, this is where I'm gonna be living. This massive damage path. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's certain years just kind of have that.
What are your predictions for 2013? It's got to be a good year after this. This year, right?
Kind of hope so, but you never know.
You never know. Yep. What quick advice would you give a high school senior who wants to be a meteorologist? I'll let you answer that one, Connor.
That's a good one for me.
Yeah.
Just 20 years old.
I think I
And
saw my first tornado when you were still in diapers.
You said 95,
Yeah.
so you were what, like
in
32?
95.
Yeah, you're
I
about
was,
4.
Four?
Yeah, I turned 4 in November.
Jeez.
Now, what
But I
advice?
saw
would-
my first tornado when I was in like kindergarten. It was just an accident. And it was
I got a
land
year
spot.
at least on you. This.
But
What advice would you give though, a high school senior? Wants to be a meteorologist?
interested in going into meteorology or being a storm chaser?
Yeah,
Is
just
there being specified?
who wants to be a meteorologist?
Well, research what schools you want to go to. Obviously, the University of Oklahoma is a great one. That's one of the reasons I'm here, and so many people go there. There are plenty of other schools. There's a lot of information online. Meteorology, in my opinion, is one of the best fields for someone to go into who has a passion for something, because there's so much that we still don't know. And so just see what there is that you're interested in meteorology. There are so many different fields, different subsets in meteorology, different things you can go into. Find out what it is you want to do. Don't hesitate to meet people, whether it's via Facebook or other social media networks or in person, that can help you advance in the field. And
Take as many storm spotter classes as they can.
Yeah.
Able to get in storm chasing, stuff like that.
I had a lot of math. I know pretty much every meteorologist at OU that I graduated with got a degree in or a minor in math also. So
as my advisor told me before my freshman year started at OU, meteorology is not just about knowing the types of clouds.
no, it sure isn't. I still don't know the types of clouds, to be honest with you. I can derive how to, like, which way the air is going and at 88 degrees north or whatnot, but I can, the name of some of the clouds, I have no idea.
All right, guys, let's wrap this up here. Thanks for joining us. I'd like to thank Dave and Connor for joining us today.
Oh, thank you.
Remember,
Happy to be here.
episode 5 launches tomorrow on tvandweather.com. We'll be here next week. Scanlon, jeez. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Reed Timmer should be here, right, guys?
Yeah, he's
All right.
ridiculous.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Peace!